There are a lot of great YouTube videos out there about the Ford Mach-E, helpful for people who are prospective buyers and helpful for those who have a new one. Most of the people who are doing those videos, though, are young folks. And so my question is, what's the Mach-E like for an old guy? What are the pros and cons? What are the things that you might be attracted to and what might you be a little bit cautious about? Why do I want a Mach-E? I'm just a car nut. That's what it boils down to. I read about these things for a while, and they get good reviews. The people who have them love them. They talk about the good acceleration, the great handling, all that sort of thing. My interest in it is not because of the electric propulsion and the climate stuff and all that. I just, think it's an interesting vehicle to consider. There's a couple of practical justifications I can give. And the first is that most of the driving I do is really short trip, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles type of thing, which is really tough on a big V8 engine, which my sedan has, 429 horsepower and 515 pound-feet of torque or something like that. Well, you can't drive a car like that just a few miles a day or a few miles every other day, something like that, and expect it to hold up. So you have to take it out and drive it pretty thoroughly. So when I take it out, I usually drive around 10, 12 miles. Well, that's a lot of extra time behind the wheel I don't really need. So with the electric car, it doesn't matter. You can drive it for 50 feet or 500 miles. It's all the same to it. So that's one reason. The second reason is that in this development where my wife and I live, they actually have electric charging stations that are free to the residents, at least for the time being. So with the idea of saving the wear and tear on that fabulous V8 sedan and free power, well, that's about as much justification as a car nut needs to get one of these things. So let's take a look at it and see what it's like from the perspective of the older consumer. So here it is, the Ford Mach-E. They call it the Mustang. They took that name from what I think should be a V8 muscle car and gave it to this electric thing, which, I don't know, I guess they can call it whatever the hell they want. It's their company, their car. But it's not bad looking at all. I mean, the lines of it are quite nice. It certainly is not ugly. You walk up to the thing, and one of the things it does is the key is actually on the phone. So you walk up to it, and here's the way I open it up. It's kind of weird. People talk about this, but to push this little button, and then it just opens up like that. You get on the inside, and what's the first thing you see? Oh my God, a great big touchscreen. Yuck, says the old person instinctively. But fortunately, once you get the initial settings taken care of, you don't really have to use that touchscreen a whole lot. The salesman set that up for me when I bought the car, and it just you really can get along pretty well without it. There is a little screen in front of you here that shows your miles per hour and stuff like that. Of course, it's all digital. There are no dials or anything. At least, thank goodness, there are some buttons. There are some actual buttons. For example, to set the cruise control, you use this big button right here. And of course, when you come off of cruise control, you can resume by pressing that button. You can increase the speed by toggling that up or toggling that down. Same over on this side here. You've got actual toggle switches for your volume and stuff like that. So it's not those horrible touch pad things like some of the cars had. I complained so bitterly about that 2022 Mercedes E450 I had with those buttons that just absolutely drove me nuts, because you'd move your hand over the steering wheel and all of a sudden your instrument panel configuration would change. How the hell did that happen? How do I get back where I was? No idea. Okay, a couple other things to notice about this. This is kind of strange, I admit. The gear shift is down here. I don't know why they put it down there. I guess because they could. The interior is quite nice. There's nothing cheesy about it. Now, you have to remember, when these things came out in 2021, I think people were paying like $65,000 for them. So they've cut the price a lot, led by Tesla cutting the price on its cars, and so Ford and everybody else had to follow suit. But the interior is all pretty nice. Nothing cheap or plasticky about it. I don't know what this seat material is. It's not leather and it's not vinyl. Maybe it's recycled beer bottles. I don't have any idea, and I don't really care. It's pretty comfortable. The only thing I don't like about it is that they're black, and my God, every one of these Mach-E's that I looked at in the state of Florida had a black interior. Why would they have black seats in Florida? It just attracts the heat. We got enough heat here. We don't need any more. And frankly, all the air conditioning is very effective. The seats don't really cool down. They need ventilated seats, and they don't have them. There's this big sunroof up here, which I had some concerns about. It's a fixed sunroof, not movable. Fine with me. I never used the sunroof much anyway. But I thought that would be just a magnet for attracting a lot of additional heat, or very, very overly bright light, but doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So generally speaking, I'd say that the appearance of this car is nice. Everything on the inside is good. The handling is great. I think it probably handles closer to the Mini that we had, when was that? 15, 16 years ago. It just handles like it's on rails. The ride is certainly comfortable enough. There's a little more motion there than a person would ideally call for, but it's not unpleasant, not uncomfortable, and of course the acceleration is quite great. This is the two-wheel drive, the rear-wheel drive version. They have a all-wheel drive, and I guess that one is even more powerful. This one has a range, theoretically, of around 350 miles. At least that's what it tells me on the instrument cluster. And I have recharged it only once, and I only get down to about 50% because I wanted to see if the charging system worked easily or there was strange things about it, and there weren't. So I guess my bottom line conclusion on this car, for an older person, if you're willing to do a few adventuresome things, it's probably going to be okay. I did not want to get a Tesla. The Tesla owners are absolutely maniacal about them. They love them, and I've ridden in them as a passenger in an Uber, and I found the inside to be, frankly, a little on the cheesy side. The ride was kind of harsh, and it was kind of rattly and noisy. And also I guess the Tesla doesn't have any instrument panel at all. Everything is on the damn screen. Well, that's too much for me. That's too much for an old guy. So I think for an older person to look into one of these things, I wouldn't be afraid of it. Give them a test drive and see what you think, and especially when they've got really good leasing deals on them right now. That's what I did. This is a 2023 model, and they gave me a really good deal on a lease. I decided for the first time in my life that I was going to lease the car, because I don't know what the future of value of this thing is going to be. 3 years from now, it might not be worth a plug nickel, because maybe by then these things will have evolved to the point where you get 500 miles of range and it takes 15 minutes to recharge them, instead of 300 miles of range in maybe an hour. So maybe this car will be worth nothing, but I don't have to worry about it. I give it back to Ford. It's theirs. If I decide I like it well enough, I can buy out the back end of the lease. But the way I am about cars, my guess is I'll enjoy it for 3 years, 39 months to be exact, and then I'll probably be ready to move on to whatever the next adventure may be. And maybe that will be a motorized casket. Given my age, it would not be a stunning surprise. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it, and see you next time.